Hello and welcome back. I'm Anna Delman. It is day number 78 and here we go, moving towards 365. My note of encouragement to myself for today, I have 3 words: joy, happiness and gratitude. Now the reason I chose those words for today was because yesterday I spoke about deleting the negatives from our week and will it add to regret. Of course it adds to our regret, because if we are wanting to erase people, places and things from our lives that we didn't like or didn't enjoy, that irritated us and that we are saying caused us not to live to the maximum of the goals that we were trying to work on, it's actually a sad statement, because through that we are learning patience, kindness, grace, forgiveness and tolerance. We are learning to embrace other people in their weaknesses, right? And the reason that is so important to refine in our own lives is because very much in time we will require that of others to exhibit that towards us when we are going through moments of differences and difficulties in our own functioning. It happens to all of us. So we may not have the same kind of dilemma the people around us are having that caused us to be irritated with them, but you can bet on it. I find myself very irritating at times, so I know you will have things about you that are irritating. That's just the reality of our humanity. We need to have patience, and if we are hoping for a life that is problem-free, we are never going to be learning that. So however, after I shared what I did yesterday, I had the day to reflect and plan for this week. And for some reason, I became sad and found myself in the doldrums, thinking about what could have been, should have been, would have been, had different things been unfolded in different ways. And I didn't like the gray mindset that I was quickly down spiraling into, and that's not good for any of us. No one likes to be in that bleak fatigue, mental fatigue. So I forced myself to snap out of it, which is a good thing to do, and I disciplined myself to have gratitude, to know the joy which I do know, and to examine what happiness truly is. So joy, happiness and gratitude. And because I needed the reminder, and we all need the reminder sometimes, we get so caught up in the issues around us that we forget to keep on examining. And sometimes we need to examine it and remind ourselves regularly. So joy is a consistent inner confidence. It's a knowledge and an understanding, giving us the security of what we know to be true about life. Happiness, that's the emotional response we have to positive events. It's the sensuality of life. It's the ooey-gooiness. It's the feelings about life in general, which is transitory. Happiness isn't a 24/7 experience, not for anyone anywhere in the world. Gratitude. Gratitude is to be thankful, to be appreciative, to recognize the value of life. And the more I thought about it, gratitude and joy, they are the opposites of the same coin. You cannot have true joy if you aren't grateful and have gratitude for the knowledge and the understanding you have about life. So those two are wrapped up in my belief, what I believe, my foundation, faith in God. That we are satisfied and pleased in Him because of what He's accomplished for us. It's the assurance that knowing that gives us, and the contentment that brings to our life. And then when all of those things are resonating deeply, our soul can only respond with singing, "It is well with my soul." The opposite of that is to be caught up in the frustration, the dejection and the doldrums of life. Now, if we are having an honest examination, we only get into the negative, icky parts of life when there is some kind of a dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction, negativity comes because of anger. There is some unresolved anger in our lives. Now, I know what I'm angry about in my life. I know those things that sometimes cause me to go into the doldrums, and I need to jerk myself out of them. I need to remember the expressions of grace and the expressions of care God has given me and shown me in the many years where I have been in a position I wouldn't have wanted to have been in. However, I would rather have been in this position, knowing those expressions of His presence and His grace in my life, than be anywhere with the most perfect address, the most perfect of everything, the most perfect of health, and not have known the same expressions. So I hope that can be true for you too. And I want you to share with you the way we get to have gratitude and joy in the midst of the doldrums is by disciplining our minds, of focusing on what is true, and that is hard. So I have had the blessing of a wonderful theological education. So I looked back in my notes to get the right quote, to make sure I quoted it word for word and not in the paraphrased understanding we all do from our studies. We paraphrase expressions and we personalize them. I didn't want to share just my personal. I wanted to share from the horse's mouth. So this is from Jerry Bridges, and he says, "Trust is not a passive state of mind. It is a vigorous act of the soul by which we choose to lay hold on the promises of God and cling to them despite the adversity that at times seeks to overwhelm us." How true is that? When we are disciplining our minds to be grateful because we know we shouldn't indulge the pettinesses of our supposed wants, when we know if there was another situation or circumstance in the world that would have been better for us in which to get to know God, He would have us there. However, He has us where we are, irrespective of what it may appear to be to us. He has us there so we can get to know Him in the beautiful expressions of grace, which only He can allow for us. So please, down in the notes below, that quote will be there. I will also write out Isaiah 26:3 in the Amplified translation and in the Amplified Classic translation, because they kind of, I think, should be the reason that Jerry Bridges wrote his quotes. So I'll just give you the Classic edition. "You will guard him and keep him in perfect and constant peace, whose mind, both its inclination and its character, is stayed on you, because he commits himself to you, leans on you, and hopes confidently in you." Now, that becomes our reality when we are working towards change. And sometimes we're working towards change, like my doldrum experience yesterday. It's just, I'm working hard, I'm doing all these things. What is the long-term outcome going to be? Is it going to be what I hope it to be, what I'm working towards, or is it going to be what it was a year ago with negative bad health? And as much as, oh, there goes my phone. I apologize for that. I'm not re-recording this. I'm keeping going. So as much as I would want it to keep progressing in the way I wanted to go, in the reality of God, He may consider me to be a greater blessing to others and have a greater testimony, taking my health back to the negative it was a year ago. I hope that's not the case. But should I and could I and do I need to complain if it is? If what I have said is His expressions of care for me and His expressions of His presence in those moments were so radical and so true, how dare I want anything different? And that's quite a sobering thought. Anyway, so I hope that is an encouragement to you. Furthermore, I want to get into the positive mindset, into the expressions of joy. Please look up Philippians 4:8 when it tells you what you need to think on in life, what is true, what is noble, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is admirable, and if anything is worthy of excellence and praise. Think about those things. Now, I went through some icky years, and I can think about them in the ickiness that they were, in the difficult health experiences that they were, or I can think back and say, who was God to me through all of that? What was He teaching me about Himself, His character, and His presence? Which one was the more powerful in my life? Him, his character, his presence, and the health issues just diminish and become bearable because of his grace. Anyway, so getting back to joy and happiness and gratitude, a cheerful heart has a continual feast, and that's Proverbs 15:15. If we have joy in our heart, it will be a continual feast because we are continuing to feed our joy with the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding of what is real about life. So I hope you are challenged to do that for yourself. And until tomorrow, take good care and God bless, and we'll talk again. Bye-bye for now.